CPI coming down, PPI coming down. Unfortunately, retail sales also coming down. Let's summarize the week. While all these things are coming down, stock market is going up. Are you ready for it? Let's go. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Micha Stocks from our channel Stock Talk with Micha Stocks, where we talk about stocks. We talk about the weekly summary where everything gets summarized. This is our channel. If you're new, it would be amazing if you can smash that like button. And of course, if you're not subscribed yet, it would be great if you can subscribe to this channel. We have over 1,600 subscribers and the channel keeps growing to make this a channel where you, at the beginning of the week, can understand everything that happened in the last week and prepare yourself to the week ahead. As usual, we start by summarizing the weekly performance of the major indices. We can see the Dow Jones gaining 1.2%, S&P gaining 1.5%, NASDAQ gaining also 1.5%, and the Russell, the small cap, gaining 1.25%. Part of it is the recovery of the regional banks. When we look year to date, we can see that the NASDAQ best performer so far, 16.7% in year to date, S&P 8.2, Dow 2.2, and Russell 1.74. We're getting close to a point and we're going to talk about it for the question, are we going to sell in May and go away? When we look at the crypto market, Bitcoin is up over $30,000 per coin, up 2.3%. ETH with a huge upgrade being done on the platform itself, up over 2,000 per one ETH, which is almost 10% gain at the moment that I'm recording this video. And year to date, Bitcoin is up 82%, ETH is up almost 75%. When we look at the different sectors, we can see the financials starting to recover, mainly due to performance of the big banks that reported on Friday. We're going to see their reports as well. Energy up due to the increase in oil prices and industrials. When we look down, we can see real estate, where the fear of commercial real estate, actually like clouds in the sky, everyone is waiting for something there to fall. It might be death by 1,000 cuts, or maybe it might happen very fast. Everyone is waiting for it. When we dive in even deeper, we can see agriculture, home builders, and solar up more than 3.5%. Also oil services and oil, gas, and exploration. When we look down, we see the REITs, again, going back to the commercial real estate. Also airlines dropping 1.1% due to Delta Airlines that disappointed in their earnings, missing both the top and the bottom line, but actually being optimistic for the next quarter, but they were optimistic previous quarter, so take it with a grain of salt. When we look at the major stocks that we keep following, Enphase up 9.3%, SolarEdge up 7.2%, and on the other side, we can see Microsoft, Nvidia, and others losing steam. When we look at our heat map, we can see that the numbers here are a bit different than the previous slide, mainly because of the way the cutoff is being done by a weekly basis or 5-day basis, but we can see a green market, at least a mild green market. And that will bring us to the headlines of this week. We will start with the CPI, which came colder than expected. Came down that the inflation still exists, but prices are only increasing by 0.1%, which brings the yearly compound CPI to around 5%. Why is that number dramatic number? Because basically it means that right now in the market, the Fed rate and inflation and CPI are the same, which means that if CPI keeps dropping, we will see rates being over the inflation, which is usually a sign that rates have peaked. Also, this measurement takes in account 12 months back. It takes and summarizes 12 months back. But when you look back at March, April, May, and June, you can see the increase in prices that was due to Ukraine, Russia, and COVID, of course, in China before they opened up. When you look from July onward, you can see the numbers are a lot lower. If we annualize using only the last 6 months, then the situation is totally different. You can see we are at 1% in the last quarter. We are at 0.8 2 quarters ago, which brings us to 1.8 multiplied by 2. We are at a rate of inflation of 3.6%. Again, a lot lower than the 5%, which brings everything to a discussion. Why is the Fed so bullish in increasing rates versus looking at the data? And then came the PPI day later, which shows also that we are slowing down also on the PPI. Brings us to retail sale. Retail sales is showing that slowness, that softness in the market. Retail sales coming down 1% in March through gas, department stores, electric, building materials, and so forth. And that, again, raises the question, are we at peak Fed rate and we're coming down? Let's start with FOMC meeting, the Fed minutes. All Fed members supported the 25 basis points, but they mentioned a word that they haven't mentioned before, that they believe that the banking crisis, not something else, the banking crisis probably will cause a recession later this year. We're going to see a slide from Lance Roberts that talks about the credit crunch that might happen due to the banking crisis. We're going to talk about that. Beyond that, again, all Fed members supported 25 basis points. Again, no real discussion, no pushback on the rate hikes. Everyone is like one voice around the table. News. During last weekend, ExxonMobil and Pioneer apparently were in discussions for a possible acquisition. The acquisition makes sense for ExxonMobil acquiring Pioneer due to the large cash flow that they have. They don't want to invest in new oil mines because they know that in 10, 20, 30 years they might not use them, so there's no real ROI. It's better to squeeze the lemon and just acquire a different company. That's ExxonMobil and PXD. Alibaba is reportedly getting ready to launch their own chat GPT, and we're seeing everyone looking at their data and understanding that the large language models, the LLMs, are the future. We're going to see Amazon talking about it as well. Walmart drops the mic and saying by 2026, they believe that roughly 65% of the stores will be serviced by automation. That is dramatic because it means this is super disinflationary, because it means less employees. Less employees meaning improvement on the bottom line. Of course, reduction in prices. Tesla, we will see few items on Tesla. One, they're opening a mega pack factory in China. When there's no demand, how come they keep opening factories? Which means that there's a lot of demand. They're opening that in China. Also, they're hit with a class action lawsuit by someone that apparently knows that employees at Tesla transferred videos from inside the car from one to the other. And he thinks that maybe his video leaked, or he knows, I have no idea. That's why they have a class action lawsuit. This is Lance Roberts, which I talked about earlier. He's showing a chart that says that the market is starting to lose credit. Starting to lose credit means that new businesses are not getting the loans that they want to. I'll explain it this way. They're not getting the loans that they need, which means that if they dry out their money, they might close. This will increase this will soften the labor market. If they don't get, or even if they get the loans and the loans are going to be more expensive, it means that they will need to increase prices or reduce their profitability. So credit crunch is on its way, and I'm not even talking about commercial real estate with people getting laid off. So companies need less space. All this is on the verge of collapse, and that might be the last shoe to drop and create that pivot that everyone's waiting from the Fed. Everyone bought PCs 2020, 2021. And maybe even a little bit in 2022. Guess what? We're in 2023. No one buys PCs anymore. No one buys laptops. We see Lenovo dropping by 30% in their sales, HP dropping 24%, Dell 31%, Apple dropping 40% in their laptop, Asus. Now everyone has their own excuses. Oh, we're bringing out a new model. Oh, we're this, we're that. Basically, we're seeing softness in the PC market. This hurts, of course, Intel, AMD, and others that are mainly PCs. In this case, it's mainly Intel. Tesla is supposed to launch a big new software update with new features and UI upgrade, and Apple Car as well is also updating their UI with Domino's Pizza app, at least according to The Verge. China Tesla right now on sales during March got to a point where they have 20% market share in China. Maybe Tesla is actually a Chinese company and we're missing something. I have no idea. Buffett spent the week in Japan, reaffirming his investment there, increasing his investment in 5 brokerages in Japan through Berkshire Hathaway, of course, and spent 3 hours in an interview on CNBC where it was amazing to see the 92-year-old investor, legendary investor, talking about stocks, talking about companies, talking about everything. Crystal clear. You should see it. It's on YouTube. You can just search CNBC, Tokyo, and then Warren Buffett. All the videos are there. Really, really astonishing. Moderna misses a milestone with their flu shot that combines the COVID shot as well, and their stock dropping this week actually by 5%. Super Mario Brothers movie. Huge hit for the game movie. I don't have a better terminology for that, which is great for Warner Brothers, WBD. We're going to talk about Warner Brothers in a few minutes on a different note. Wells Fargo coming out with a note saying, don't wait for May to sell. You know, there's a saying in the stock market that says, sell in May and go away, come back October. That's my ending. Mainly sell in May and go away. Wells Fargo, frightened from the last 3 rallies, saying sell before May and go away. Don't wait for it. Going back to NASDAQ up 16%, S&P up 8%. They're looking at the market and saying we're going to hit 4,200. People are going to start selling. Computers are going to start selling. We're going to see a correction. And that's why they're saying sell before May. Don't wait for it. Visa and PayPal combining forces through Venmo, adding Visa Plus to the offering. Google drops the global vaccine requirement to enter buildings. Apparently, Google wants their employees to come to the buildings more than they care about the vaccination. So that's an interesting development there. And we talked about Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers, HBO, is now changing its name to Max, a new streaming service that will combine HBO and Discovery together. This is Andy Jassy, Amazon CEO. During Wednesday, went through several interviews, him and his team, talking about Amazon, large language models, AI, generative AI, everything related, and of course adding that to AWS stack, providing developers with the ability to run advanced AI through AWS and not going to Azure, which is Microsoft's, or Google, which is Google's. Tesla, reducing price in Europe. Again, another price cut, both in the US and in Europe. Does that mean that demand is softening or Tesla is trying to conquer more market share? We will hear during the week. Wait for the end of the video. Lucid, on the other hand, is really, really disappointing and producing 9,300 cars during Q1, delivering only 1,400, which is lower than they expected. The company is not meeting their standards. Just to put things in context, 2 years ago, through their SPAC, their special purpose acquisition company, they aspired to get to a point where this year they will deliver between 30 to 45,000 cars. In a quarter, they deliver 1,400. And in the competition between them and Mercedes, I can see here on the street more Mercedes electric cars than I see Lucids, which means that Mercedes probably is selling more cars than them, and they haven't promised any number. Biotech is booming. Yeah, CRISPR got a huge upgrade from Cantor Fitzgerald, and that created a squeeze of 16% going up and pulled all the biotech stocks with it. And let's dive into the reports that came out on Friday. JP Morgan hitting it out of the park with revenues topping expectations, actually beating expectations, earnings per share beating expectations. They took a lot of the money from the regional banks and made huge profits from that, and that we'll probably see that in the next few quarters. Their stock went up 6 to 7% during the trading on Friday. PNC, more of a regional bank, actually came okay. Their comments were that they weren't that hurt from the crisis. Revenue missing a bit, but earnings per share hitting. They didn't spook the market that much. BlackRock, revenue in line, top line in line, earnings per share beating. United Health, strange price action, beating on revenue, beating on earnings per share, increasing their forecast, but stock going down about 3 to 4% during trading on Friday. Citi earnings per share beating, revenue beating, both in top and bottom line. Again, the 3-4 big banks really enjoyed the financial crisis. Suddenly it's not them, it's someone else. And late Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, Twitter partners with eToro to let customers trade stocks crypto through Twitter. So it's not a full integration. Basically, it just takes you to eToro. But this takes a step forward for Musk's vision for that everything app, Twitter being the backbone of it. We'll see how this develops. And Boeing slipped 6% after warning again on the 737 MAX. Problem with productions. Actually, this time it's not Boeing, it's one of their suppliers, but it doesn't really matter. Those were all the headlines of the week. Are you ready for next week? Next week is going to start with, or we're going to start with companies that are reporting. Monday, before the bell, we're going to see Charles Schwab. Very important to hear how much money was pulled out. Or maybe it wasn't. By the way, it might be a huge surprise if they come very positive. We're going to see a lot more banks on Monday, mainly regionals. Tuesday, Bank of America, Johnson & Johnson, Goldman Sachs, and of course, after the bell, Netflix, United, Intuitive Surgical. It's going to be dramatic. And then comes Wednesday. ASML, Morgan Stanley, US Bancorp, Baker Hughes, and others are reporting before the bell. Ali, also important because they provide a lot of loans for cars. And if there's a crisis in the car market, Ali Financials might get hurt by it. And after the close, we see Tesla, IBM, Alcoa, Lam Research, and Zions Bank reporting, and also Discovery. Thursday, before the bell, Taiwan Semiconductors, American Express, Alaska Airlines, and the BlackRock Company. And after the bell, we see a few more companies like PPG, Seagate, and others. And on Friday, before the bell, P&G, SLB, formerly known as Schlumberger, Freeport, McMoran, and others are going to report during Friday. When we look at the financial calendar, there aren't important events this week, except jobless claims. As usual, we need to see the job market cooling down. That's very important for the Fed to continue. This is Worth charting, Carter Worth, that believes that we are now on our verge coming down. He sees these rocks as the stock market coming down, and he puts a danger sign saying, beware, we might get a correction very soon. That's Carter Worth. On the other hand, this is Tom Lee saying, look, the bears are trapped. We are now very close to a short squeeze. Who's going to be right? It's a big question. At the end of the day, when we look at the S&P 500, the 500 best stocks, I might say, in the world, we see that we are changing our direction. If we were on a trajectory going down, we are now creating higher lows and higher highs, which means that we are now in a path that is in a different way. We are hitting the 150 moving average and climbing from it. That doesn't mean we're not going to see corrections. And I remind everyone, this is not financial advice, of course. It doesn't mean that we are not going to see corrections, but it does mean that something here is happening. Now, in the discussion between, let's call it the macro news, the market news, the expectations for recession versus the market, the force that is called the market keeps going up versus the data, which shows softness, which shows that it shouldn't do it. Who's going to win? The market or the data? We will be here to make sure we follow everything that's happened. So if you enjoyed this summary, it would be amazing if you can smash that like button and also forward it, share it with your friends so more and more people will be exposed to this weekly summary where we summarize everything that happened in the stock market. Till next time, till next week, I'm Micha Stocks. See you later.